中国，欢迎来到中国。
Yeah. I wish I could speak it as well as you.
听不懂中国 China.
中国
Yeah, 中国. Yeah, 欢迎来到中国. Your Excellency.
欢迎来到中国.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Your speech at the UN General Assembly was brilliant.
Madam President, the slave trade must be recognized as the greatest crime against humanity. As the African champion on reparations, Ghana intends to introduce a motion in this August body to that effect. More than 12.5 million Africans were forcibly taken against their will and transported to create wealth for the powerful Western nations. We must demand reparations for the enslavement of our people and the colonization of our land that resulted in the theft of our natural resources, as well as the looting of artifacts and other items of cultural heritage that have yet to be returned in total. We recognize the value of our land and the value of our lives, as did our colonizers, as well as the governments that happily paid reparations to former slave owners as compensation for the loss of their property in quotes.
The future of the world is African.
More than 25% of the world's population is expected to come from the African continent. Additionally, by 2050, 1/3 of all young people aged between 15 to 24 will be residing on the African continent. So you see, the future of this world is African. Allow me to say this once again a little louder for those of you in the back. The future is African.
Can you tell us more about that? Because a lot of Africans felt like Nkrumah is back again.
Well, when you speak from the heart, that's how it comes across. And I meant every word in there. I talked about reparations. I talked about the global system and how it is changing and how it has been unjust to Africans. And in any new global order that succeeds it, there must be justice and equity for Africa, including having an equal say, you know, in international global institutions like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the multilateral financial institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, and all that. Africa must have a greater say in all these institutions. Aside from that, the current world order is rigged against Africa. And so if you look at the colonial patterns of trade that were established by our colonial masters, they are the same patterns of trade. Railways lead to only where there are resources, and they lead from there to the ports in order to extract those resources and export them to other destinations. We continue to live as colonial slaves. Let me call it new colonial slaves, because we have a flag and we have independence, but still the system is rigged such that we have to export materials raw to our former colonial masters. They use those resources, you know, to produce manufactured and finished goods, and then determine the prices of those goods and export them back to us. But when we export the raw materials, we don't determine the price. We don't determine the price of cocoa. We don't determine the price of gold. Cocoa doesn't grow in Europe, and yet Europe determines how much cocoa should be purchased for. And so these are all the kinds of things that we need to look at.
Does it mean that we are not fully independent, like what you're just saying?
Yeah, Nkrumah said it. After we gained independence, he said we're moving from the era of colonialism to the era of new colonialism. It would take time to reform the system. For instance, we've passed the African Continental Free Trade Area. But even though we can export duty-free, tariff-free into each other's markets, where are the railways to move those goods? Where are the ports to move those goods? Where are the roads to move those goods? If you have to move goods from Ghana to another African country, you probably must have to transship it through Europe or some other destination before it gets there. So until we're able to establish the infrastructure to be able to exchange people and goods between ourselves, we cannot fully utilize the potential that the African Continental Free Trade Area gives us. And that is part of the new colonialism that I talk about.
I'm hoping that one day Africa will be borderless, and I think it has to start from Ghana, because this is a campaign that I've been on for quite some time now. I'm hoping that one day you will
Well,
get visa
West
free.
Africa has been borderless for a long time. We signed the protocol on free movement of people years, decades ago. And so West Africans are able to move to each other's countries 90-day visa free.
Yeah.
And I don't see what the big deal in extending it to the rest of Africa is. And that's why I was one of the first presidents when I came back from the AU conference in Kigali and we're not able to move the free movement of people. I came and passed, the regulation that allowed any African passport holder to be able to receive visa on arrival when they come to our airport. And it didn't bring the sky down. There was not an immediate movement of people from all over Africa coming to crowd into our country. But it made it easier for business people, for other Africans who want to come as tourists to our country to be able to do so.
I want to know why China this time around.
China is a co-chairman of our bilateral creditor committee, and I know the role that China played to get us a negotiated deal in the G20 debt treatment framework, especially in the negotiations with the bilateral creditors. And so it gave us an opportunity to express our appreciation to him. Indeed, Ghana got its approval in record time, the fastest that has ever happened. And so it opens the way for other countries that are debt distressed to have the same. And so I had the opportunity to say thank you to President Xi, but also to discuss important issues of interest in the relations between us in terms of